Hi, Doug. Mark Masters, TSN. What was the toughest or most time-consuming decision you made in finalizing this roster?
As always, it goes down to the last couple of days. The process worked very well. We got it. Our last major meeting with our management group was in early December. I would say we walked out of that meeting with 12 forwards in consensus, 7 defensemen, and 2 goalies. And then it was really getting to work with John Cooper, understanding what John does on a day-to-day basis. I didn't want to burden him with a lot of this, but when we got to that point, we needed his input, and we've really worked hand in hand. He and his coaching staff have been invaluable in telling us what they needed, the type of players they needed, what areas of concern we had as far as power play, penalty kill, different situations, and what players could represent that. So I would say it's always comes down to the last couple of players. And as I said in my opening remarks, it's very difficult because there's so many worthy players here. And I can just say one thing, not one player played their way off of this team, just 25 guys played their way on.
When it came to Connor Bedard, how much did the injury impact kind of the decision-making process for him?
I'm not going to say not a lot, quite honestly. His name was right there to the last second because we could have named him and then move forward. But I think the reality is there's so many good players, and we just had difficult decisions to make.
Hey, Doug, Kyle Bukauskas from Sportsnet. So it felt like for, I don't know, at least the last month on the outside that Macklin Celebrini was a name that he had done enough to make the team internally. At what point did you guys decide that despite his age, it was undeniable that he deserved to be part of the roster?
Early December. He was one of our 12 that had done enough to make us comfortable that he was someone we wanted to present to the coach, that of our 12 core players or 12 players that we had all agreed upon. I talked to him this morning. I had the opportunity to meet him. It might have been his 5th or 6th NHL game. It's a story I think I've shared with some of you that they were playing in St. Louis, and I went down before the game and I said, introduced myself, and I said, you're not on the radar likely for the Four Nations, but the Olympics are coming up and we're going to watch you. And he proceeded to have, I think, 4 points that night. So I said, I'll always have those conversations after the game moving forward. But since then, he's really taken off. He's gone to the Worlds. He fit in very well socially with the top players in the game, and his product on the ice speaks for itself. So he worked his way on, and you know, his resume is shorter, but it's extremely filled out for his age.
Doug, Josh Clippern with the Canadian Press. Just in terms of your goaltending, what gives you confidence in Jordan can still get it done? Excuse me. And also, what did Darcy and Logan show to get on the roster?
Yeah, I think that when we select all the players, we look at their recent play and we look at their resume. And Jordan Binnington's resume speaks for itself. What he did at the Four Nations, what he's done in the NHL. His statistical numbers aren't to where he would like them to be this year. And working for the St. Louis Blues, I would agree. But also, I don't think the St. Louis Blues have put a product in front of him that we should be proud of. And so he's a byproduct of how we play on some nights. But I think talking to the coaches and the management, and that was the one thing that surprised me a little bit with the group, was his name never came up as, you know, a question mark. I think what everyone saw from him at the Four Nations cemented his legacy for this tournament. And what I've seen over his career made it easy for me to go that direction. With the other two, I think Logan statistically has been maybe the top goaltender over the last couple of years. Canadian goaltender. He was very close last year on the Four Nations. All he's done since then is play exemplary hockey. And Darcy has a great resume. He's got the Kings in a good spot. He's a Stanley Cup champion. So we believe in those three. We have the proper components.
And just follow up, injuries are unfortunately part of the game. Is there a standby list? And if so, how many, and what's the message to those guys?
Yes, there is a standby list. We're not going to give a definite number. What we've tried to do is a little give you some insight into our thought process. It's not one player out, one player in. What we're going to do is say, if this style of player gets hurt, we'll have a list of players to look at. If this style of player gets hurt, we'll have a list of players to look at. That list is, it's long, but not too long, because there's different style of players that we want. And we've asked the players if they want to stay on that list. Part of the requirements to be on that list is you have to continue with the testing that the Olympic Committee does. And, to a man that I've talked to, they said they want to stay on the list. Everyone, hopes that the 25 guys have health till then, but their job is to prepare that if someone unfortunately is injured, they're the first name they're at the top of that list that we're considering.
Doug, Guillaume Lepage with LNH.com. Nick Suzuki wasn't on the roster at the Four Nations. What have you seen from him in the last few months that convinced you to put his name on the list?
He's just continued to be a very good player, and I have to say that Marty St. Louis has done a fabulous job. As their team ascends, you look at why, and Nick is a major player in that. The pressure that goes playing in Canada is one level. The pressure playing in Montreal is a different level. Then the pressure of being the captain of the Montreal Canadiens is at a different level. And what impresses me about Nick is his ability to compartmentalize all that and still be a top player every night. We love his versatility. He can, not a major penalty killer for the Canadiens this year, and we talked to their management group about that, and a little bit of that is just managing his ice time. But we know he can kill, we know he can play the power play, we know he's a 200-foot player, and what we wanted to do as a management group is to provide John Cooper with players with a lot of different tools in their toolkit, and Nick is one of those players.
Hi, Doug. Nicolas Cloutier for the Journal de Montréal. If you could expand on that, what you said about Suzuki and his role, do you have an idea what kind of role he could fill for you guys?
This is the best part of this. I get to turn all this over to the coach. So we have a vision of when we picked the players, and that's where John was very helpful of asking us what we saw in these players and how they could support our team. And I guess where John will decide where Nick plays and who he plays with. But what we are comfortable is telling John that Nick is a multi-talented player that can fill a lot of roles.
Hey, Mr. Armstrong, Jesse Pollock, TSN. Mark Scheifele is having a pretty solid year with the Jets. I just want to know, is he a player that came right down to the wire?
Yeah, there was a number of players that have come right down to the wire, and I would say just to ensure that we all make the Olympics, I'll hold my answers to questions of players that are on the team, not on the team. So, but yeah, there's so many players that are right on the cusp, and I said, and I really meant that no players played their way off this team. We just had to narrow this down to 25.
Hi, Doug. Adam Kimmelman from NHL.com. Goaltending's such in the spotlight. When you guys were discussing positions, was goalie what you spent maybe the longest on? And how many were in that initial group that you went from to get to these three guys you picked today?
Yeah, if you go back to the group that came to Calgary, it would have looked like a goalie camp if we had brought all the players that we had on our list at that time. So there was a number of players on that list. David Alexander is our goalie coach, and he works with me in St. Louis. I put a lot of stock into his opinion. He scouts the goalies. He and John talk a lot about it. So I'm going to say, as a management group, we didn't spend a lot of time talking about the goaltending, but that group was extensive, and we believe that the three that we named have earned that right. And we've told the others to, you never know what happens with injuries, and to stay prepared. And it'll be a tough decision if one guy goes down, because there's some guys playing really good hockey right now.
Josh Gibbons, CP. Just keeping the same blue line, I'm just wondering why you decided to stay the same 8 guys, and what was the conversation like with Drew Doughty when you told me he was on the team?
R-rated. And Drew's an unbelievable competitor. I've been fortunate to observe him close in international events going back to 2009. He was excited. He's honored. He's fired up. He wants to put his best foot forward. He wants to win again. His passion, he wears it on his sleeve, and that's infectious to everybody. The reason going with the 8 was just, again, scouting, dialogue with the coaches. What did they like? What, about that group? I think we have great skill level. I think one of the things, like for a Parenko and a Sanheim, we call it like going through a car wash. They're all arms and legs. It's hard to get to the net. It's like swimming in seaweed. I love those big players. And with Theodore, I think we have a proper balance of players that have won at the NHL level, have won at the Four Nations level, and complement each other. And that was a big decision when I talked to John and Pete DeBoer, who runs the D.
Final call for questions in the room. Okay, seeing none, we will go to questions from Zoom and turn it over to my colleague Jacob. Just a reminder to please use the raise hand function. And when you do ask a question, please state your name, your media affiliation, and who your question is for.
Hey, Doug, it's Andrew Gross from Newsday in New York. Thanks for doing this. I was just wondering specifically about Bo Horvat, what you and your team saw out of him this season and why you think Bo is a good fit for this group of 14 forwards. Thanks.
Thank you for the question. Bo has a lot of the attributes we're looking for. We want to be able to play inside, get to the net. He's a player that played left wing with McKinnon at the World Championships last year. Can play multiple positions for us. I think right now he's of the players we selected, he's our highest face-off guy. So he adds that element to the selection process. Just an all-around good 200-foot player. Can touch both ends of the special teams if needed, and has a multi-positional aspect to him that made him a very appealing player for us.
Hey, Doug, it's Ethan Sears from the New York Post. Was just wondering about Matthew Schaefer. How tough a decision did he make this for you guys, and at what point did he sort of maybe play himself onto the radar as a guy who presumably had not been on the radar going into the season?
I'll be honest with you, he wasn't on my radar at the start of the season. But his play is exemplary. And as I said, I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about players that didn't make the team. But to me, this is a special occasion because he's an 18-year-old man that we're talking about playing in the Olympics. So he's a fantastic talent. He brings you out of your seat every night. He's got maturity beyond his years on and off the ice. And so I was shocked at how quickly he worked his way into our conversations, and that's a credit to him. And the Islanders are very lucky, and hockey's very lucky to have a young player like that coming on the horizon.
Hi, folks. Garrett from CTV. Thanks very much for your time and the question. I was wondering, Doug, or maybe Scott or Catherine, you might want to chime in, but if you have received any reassurance on the state of the arena in Milan, if any of the players you've spoke to have expressed any concerns about the arena in Milan, if any contingencies are being planned, just kind of an update on that.
It's Scott Salmon here. We've spent a lot of time in Milan ourselves. I've been there personally 3 times, and the day after the World Juniors ends, I'll be going back. And so I told Doug yesterday that we'd have a much better idea where we are in the facilities, both the main arena and the practice facility. We have, again, taken some steps to make sure that we have backup plans should we need them. But, we fully expect, and we've heard from the IHF and the IOC that the arena will be built and it will be ready, and that's our expectation.
Hey, Doug, Patrick Johnston here from Post Media. I think you said to Pierre LeBrun the other day that you were looking at, who you guys were playing, not just the U.S., so on. I'm wondering what sort of your guiding question in assembling this roster is. Is this the best 25 players in Canada, or was there a sort of a style you guys wanted to play? What guided you in picking these players in the end?
We believe this is the best team we could select. you know, there's, as I said earlier, there's a lot of aspects that go into the team. You look at Hagel Sorelli's penalty killing. It's exemplary in the NHL. That's an area that we want to make sure that there's not going to be a lot of power plays, but a power play goal will count even higher because there's not that many. So players like that come in with something that they can provide along with other assets. So what we've tried to do is build the best team. And we have to do our job to get an opportunity to play teams from the other brackets. And so we're not building this team to beat any one team. We want to build a roster that can compete with against anybody. And I assume all the other countries are doing the same thing. It's a very dangerous and slippery slope when you do something just for one opponent and you never face them. So our goal was and is to build a team that can compete with anyone. To be the best we can be. That's our goal, is just to be the best we can be and let the chips fall where they may. And we're excited about this group that can hopefully compete against any nation that will be at the Olympics.